Welcome to your EFT session, and this is to give you a really good idea of how EFT works. By its very nature, it's going to be a generic session, but I'm going to tap on something that I think you'll probably have had issues with yourself, or you may have issues with, and then it will give you a good idea of how to use EFT to your benefit and how to get the most out of it. Now, what's really important is that you say what you hear in your mind. I'm going to tap on the issue of the fear of telling people what's happened to you. And I know that when, I've had to tell people, it's taken me a few days to just work out what it is I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it and how I'm going to try and bring that pause in the conversation so that I can get my piece out. And that takes a lot of emotional energy and just the build-up of working it out, running it through your head many times, deciding how you're going to phrase it, what you need to change, how much you're going to tell people. And then afterwards, once you've had that conversation, it can really take it out of you. And for me, the day is almost wasted in terms of doing work because I'm just kind of a bit out of whack and my emotions are all over the place. So make sure when you do tell people that you build something into your day to give you time afterwards where you can do something for you, something that lifts you up and makes you feel happy and grounded and safe and secure within yourself. And remember also that you cannot control, and nor should you try, to control the reaction you get from the person you're telling. How they react to your news is going to depend on the experiences that they've had in their life. So if it's not quite how you would have hoped or would have wanted, just allow them to kind of have their space to deal with it. And remember, it's to do with them and the experiences that they've had in their life and nothing to do with you. And again, when you're building your time in to have the conversation and then do something that will lift you up and make you feel happy afterwards, remember that too. That if the reaction wasn't quite how you'd hoped, it's got nothing to do with you. All you can control is how you tell someone and the words you use, and then the rest is left up to them. So we're going to tap, and I'm going to do a two-part method. And the first part is to tap down your anxiety, check in, see where it is when you think about telling someone. And then tap down your anxiety until you get it down from a level of between 1 to 10, 10 being highest, to a 1 or a 0. And then when we get to that level, I'm going to tap in the positive and show you how you can turn a situation where a few moments ago you were really worried about and really emotionally upset and charged about to something where you actually feel confident and positive about having this conversation. Now, it's important that before you tap in the positive, you do have your levels down to a 1 or a 0, because if you've still got lots of emotional energy, emotional charge of fear and anxiety of having these conversations, then it will not help to tap the positive in if you've still got all these issues going on inside. And as I said, this is going to be based on some of the fears that I had around telling people what happened to me. So when you start to hear, as I'm sure you will, as we're tapping, voices come into your mind to tell you what your real significant fears are about this, then stop following along with my words and start tapping on the words that you're hearing, because this is important. These are your words, this is your concern, and if you tap on the words that you hear, you will do the most help, you'll give yourself the most benefit by doing this, and you'll get a really clear idea and understanding of how powerful EFT is in taking out the emotions. So check in and see, when you think about telling people what's happened to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your anxiety level? And now we're going to just do the setup phrase. And remember, you can tap either side of the body, you can tap with both hands, you can cross over, you can just tap one side, both together. But to tap gently is really important. You don't want to be bruising yourself. And for the setup phrase, it's right on that karate chop point. So I will just leave enough room after I've spoken so that you can repeat. Even though I'm terrified of telling people what happened to me, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself and honour my feelings. Even though I'm terrified of telling people what happened to me, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself and honour my feelings. And the final time. Even though I'm terrified of telling people what happened to me, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself and honour my feelings. So top of the head, I'm terrified of starting the conversation where the eyebrow meets the nose. I'm terrified of telling people what's happened to me, side of the eye. It scares me to think about telling people under the eye. I feel that there's some people that should know under the nose. I just can't comprehend starting the conversation on the chin. It just terrifies me thinking about telling people on the chest. I'm afraid I'll get really upset under the arm. I'm afraid I just won't be able to get my story out top of the head, because I don't really want to think about what happened to me where the eyebrow meets the eye, because it wasn't nice, side of the eye. And it scares me to tell people under the eye. I don't know how to start that conversation under the nose. I'm worried about how they'll react on the chin. I don't want to upset them on the chest, but I just feel that they should know to their own. It feels like there's this hidden thing between us if I don't tell them, top of the head. But even so, I don't know how to start that conversation where the eyebrow meets the nose. It just scares me thinking about how to start that conversation, side of the eye. I don't want to upset them under the eye. I'm in a good place now, and I'm okay under the nose. I've learned how to deal with it on the chin. And I really don't want to upset them when I tell them chest. But I just don't know how to start that conversation to the arm. And I really am terrified of telling them. Okay, and we're just going to take a pause there now. Now, if you are having your own fears and anxieties come into your mind, pause this, tap through all the points that we've tapped through, and keep tapping through the words and fears that you're hearing in your mind. And if it takes a long time to bring your level down from a very high point to 1, that's absolutely fine. You're not doing anything wrong. The more emotionally charged something is, the deeper something is inside of you, the longer that you've had this anxiety, the longer it takes to tap out, because there's just so many legs to it. So as you're tapping out one thing and you start to get that nice and low, you'll suddenly start to hear other words and phrases come to your mind, because that's the next big thing that's connected that you need to tap out. So get your first thing down to a 1 and then go on to the next, and then there might be another thing that comes to your mind that's a concern or a worry that's connected. Tap on that and keep tapping through until you get all of the legs out that's connected to this issue. And then when you've tapped it all out, that's your time to start tapping in the positive. So now I'm going to take you through how you tap in the positive. And remember, only do this when you've got your anxiety levels for the issue down to a 1 or a 0. Because if you start to try and tap in the positive when you've still got lots of anxiety, lots of legs going from the main issue, still very high in your mind, you're not going to have the positive effect that this should bring to you. And because we're tapping in the positive, we're going to go from tapping from a 0 up to a 10. You want to achieve a level 10 and feel confident and happy and like you can do anything that you'd set your mind to. That's the feeling that we're going for. So we're going to start tapping in the positive. So top of the head. What if telling people is easier than I thought? What if telling people was easier? Side eye. What if I was able to find the words? Under the eye. What if I was able to find the words easily? Under the nose. And words that didn't have an emotional charge for me? On the chin. But what if I'm able to tell someone without getting upset? Chest. And what if when I tell them, they have a really good reaction? Under the arm. What if when I tell someone, they have a reaction that I would like? Top of the head. And what would that reaction look like? Where the eye meets the nose. What would a positive reaction look and feel like for me? Side of the eye. When I've told someone. What would it look and feel like for me? What if it's so easy in the end to tell someone? Chin. What if it's a much happier experience than I'm imagining? Chest. What if it goes really well? And so again, you just need to keep tapping through until you get to a 10. And use your words and phrases if you hear them coming too. This really is the key with EFT. You need to be able to use what's going on in your mind when you're tapping, because that's how you get the best experience. So I hope you find this EFT video really useful, and I hope that you really enjoy using EFT in your life, and remember to use EFT because it's a wonderful thing to do.